You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Today we're going to get into a specific principle actually originally used in economy and now carried over into business, into health, into weight loss, into really anything where you're trying to invest the minimum amount of time for the greatest amount of results. So that principle is called the Pareto's principle. And it was actually developed by an Italian economist, Vilfredo Peredo. And what he did was he actually studied land and land ownership in Italy. And what he found was that about 80% of all the land in Italy was owned by about 20% of the people or population. And then he started to look at that in terms of everything from literally his own garden, where approximately 80% of all of the peas were coming from 20% of these specific pea pods. So then after this was carried into business, and that's where it's really become popularized, meaning that when people are looking at sales and businesses, they find that about 80% of their sales, so right, the majority of their sales, 8 out of 10 of the sales, come from about 20% of their clients. And then they look at that then in terms of employees as well, and they say, okay, about 80% of our results within the business are coming from about 20% of our employees. And so they call this thing the 80-20 principle. And it's, originally called the Peredo principle, but now it's called the 80-20 rule. And so the 80-20 rule looks at everything in our entire life, meaning like everything from cooking, and like a lot of times chefs use it in terms of utensils. What can I use for this 20% that's going to get me 80% of the results? So let's apply it now to what I do and what I want to help you with. And that's essentially living a greater, better life and improving your health, your weight loss, your overall wellness. So we have to look at this. What can we do that's the smallest amount of effort that's going to give us the largest amount of results? So we're looking at, let's say, for example, weight loss. You can look at exercise, you can look at inflammation, you can look at using certain nutritional supplements, you can look at nutrition, you can look at better sleep, you look at all of these specific things, all right? But what is going to give you the maximum result from using the smallest amount of change or singular most amount of change? And I can tell you that the greatest change comes from nutrition alone. So that means anyone trying to lose weight, who's also trying to exercise, who's also trying to do their 10,000 steps, who's also trying to do all of these other things, if they can focus all of those efforts, if they can only do one thing, and that's on nutrition, they're going to get 80% of the results from basically everything else they could do. Now, is exercise important? Absolutely. Extremely important for boosting metabolism, for keeping muscle mass on, which is then going to lead to better long-term results. But for right now, when we're looking at how much can we lose in the next, let's say, 12 weeks. So an average client of ours can lose anywhere from, let's say, 20 to maybe 40 pounds or so in 12 weeks, okay? And that's safely, that's naturally, and that's effectively. It's losing anywhere from 2 pounds to 4 pounds per week, right? And that actually is very typical for our clients. It just simply depends on how much weight they need to lose. If you come in 250 plus pounds, you can lose 3 pounds a week, and that's 36 pounds. That's very, very doable, and you should achieve that. Let's say you come in at 160 pounds. Well, you could certainly lose 2 pounds per week, and 1.5, 2 pounds per week, and that's going to lead to 20, 24 pounds in that 12 weeks. So again, a lot of that can be done simply through nutrition. So if you focus your efforts on eating more whole foods, eating less processed foods, less things that come out of a box, less things that come out of a bag, less things that can, basically they look brown, right? You don't want as much of the pasta, the bread, and all of those specific things. If you eliminate those, you keep all of your beverages, your drinks to water, it's just going to give you that enormous boost in losing weight. So that is using the 80-20 rule, the 80-20 principle. That is using Paredo's principle that has been proven time and time again. So again, when you're short on time, when you're short on effort, when you're short on willpower, use what's going to get you the greatest amount of results. So that's a weight loss example. Let's take a wellness-based example, right? So there are so many things you could do for wellness. You have to find out what specifically you're dealing with. Are you dealing with a fight or flight based sympathetic nervous system based issue that's kind of making you more anxious, that's making you more stressed, that might be leading to digestive based issues? Or are you dealing with some type of gut overgrowth, some type of leaky gut, some type of increased gut permeability that's caused by candida, that's caused by bacterial overgrowth? Is that what's going on? Now, for those things, you could do changing your nutrition, you could do drinking more water, reducing stress, whatever it might be. But if it's a candida or yeast overgrowth, well, the thing that's going to work the best is using a specific supplement, an herbal-based supplement, to help decrease and wipe out that candida. Now, the one that we use is very specific. It works it works in the first couple weeks, but then it carries through over 12 weeks. And you'll see the effectiveness is because it uses both an enzyme disruptor to destroy or wipe out the outside biofilm and first layer of the yeast. And then it uses an herbal-based supplement like oregano oil, pau d'arco, and a few others to actually kill the specific candida itself, the overgrowth. And then after that, it puts something in its place, and that's something like Saccharomyces boulardii. And it works exceptionally well. It's been researched and proven to work very well, but that is the 20% of effort that will give you 80% of those results. So yes, you could go on a candida-based diet, and that would be ideal as well. And you can use specific FODMAP-based foods and all of that. But you have to use the things that are going to wipe out the overgrowth in the first place. Because, yeah, you won't be feeding it by using specific foods, and that's a good thing. But at some point, you really do want to wipe it out. Now, in terms of exercise is another great example. You could spend an hour or an hour and a half in the gym doing cardio and weights and all of these things if your goal is to tone up, boost your metabolism, lose weight. But your 20% of effort could be literally 20 minutes of body weight resistance-based exercises, and on alternating days, 20 minutes of interval-based training. That short amount of time is going to get you pretty much the same exact results as that hour of running on an elliptical or running on a treadmill, moving on those particular movements. That will get you most likely the same exact results because you're not just kind of moving your body at a slow, steady cardio pace. No, you're pumping it, you're getting that metabolism boosted, and you're doing those intervals. And 2 or 3 days a week, you're doing body weight-based exercises, or ideally some kettlebell, some weights, some bands, so that you can also get those muscles to change, get it to be more metabolic, get it to actually require more protein synthesis, more calories, and that will absolutely help you get better results. So I'm going to keep it at that for today. Please do send in any questions that you may have, but understand that when you look at your goals, when you look at getting the best results possible, you need to look at this. Out of all the things you could do, a very small specific number are going to get you the majority of those results. So write down everything you could do, and then find out those 1 or 2 things that are going to be about 20% of the equation, like 2 out of 10 things, that are going to get you 80% of the results anyways, which is the vast majority, right? And then if you want, then you can add a little bit more as time goes. But very few people have the time to dedicate their entire life to one thing. Like, unless you're going to a camp type place that works on weight loss, or unless you're living in a clinic for a period of time, you can't dedicate your entire day to that particular goal. So use the 80-20 principle, use Paredo's principle to focus on just the very few things, the critical few things that really matter to getting you to your goal. Hopefully that made sense today. I appreciate you listening to the Cabral Concept. Thank you once again for tuning in, and I'll be back tomorrow with the Total Wellness Tuesday episode. Ever wonder what the best sauna, blue blockers, sleep trackers, wake lights, salt lamps, or other health gadgets are? Or what about the top non-toxic mattresses, sheets, soaps, bath products, toothpaste, and cookware? Or would you like to know the cleanest choices for hemp hearts, meal delivery services, supplements, and much more? I personally curated, researched, and now created a resource page of all of my top picks that continues to grow each week. These are the exact products I use in my own life, with my family, in my private practice, and they're the ones I trust. To find out all of my up-to-date recommendations, and all the details, simply head on over to stephencabral.com/resources.